Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's podcast is number 608. The concept or the subject is mindset, and the title is To Control More, You Must Control Less. So sounds like a little bit of a riddle, but hopefully as we go through this, it'll make a little more sense. So first of all, I wanted to thank the patrons of the podcast. So thank you to those who donate financially to the podcast. It really does help cover the expense of the podcast and some of the time investment on our end. So I sincerely appreciate that, and it makes it more and more able to do this every single day, so we can share good information in regards to nutrition, training, mindset, trainer education, the subjects we cover. The more we can get good information out into the world in these areas is truly able to do so through the patrons. So thank you very much for your donation. It's very much appreciated. So the other thing is just thank you to those who email. Thank you to those who share the podcast, which is really cool, by the way, when I see that on social media. So thank you. And thank you to those who subscribe. So on Podbean app, if you listen on there, you can actually become a follower, and that actually kind of is notified to me. So it's kind of cool just to see. I think we have 140 some followers now. So it's just kind of fun to see that many people are checking in every day, and it's very motivating. So thank you to everybody. I just want to say that, I don't think I say it enough, that I truly appreciate your participation and support. It's freaking awesome. And I hope I can give you back any percentage of the happiness that you guys give to me. So thank you. Okay, so what in the world am I talking about today when I say to control more, you must control less? And what I'm going to look at here is different areas of our life. It is kind of recommended, if you read books on these areas, say business, say relationships, personal happiness, anxiety control, depression control, those areas, what you'll tend to find is they promote you to find mental clarity between what you can and can't control. So I'm going to go through some examples, and essentially what we're going to find out is the less things I try to control in life, the more I actually have control over my own life, my emotions, my happiness, my joys, my positive momentum, the things that I feel I can do. Just the better my life feels, the better my life is, the more I recognize that there's less and less I have to control. So let's go through some examples. In business, for example, I've been talking with a friend recently, and we've been working through Tim Ferriss's book, 4-Hour Work Week, and it talks about just efficiency of work. And one of the concepts that we've been talking about, I don't know if this necessarily comes up in his book, it came up in a different book, but the 4 Ds. So if you go through your life and we talked about how to calm the whirlwind recently in one of our most recent podcasts, about how you can kind of calm your everyday life and just kind of calm some of the stress that we feel every day by going through these 4 Ds. The 4 Ds stand for delegate, defer, delete, and do. So out of everything you feel like you have to control in business, what of that? Okay, we typically, if we feel like we have to control it, we feel like we have to do it. We feel like we're responsible to it and for it. So if we can delegate some of those responsibilities, it's less pressure on us. It gives us a chance to do more of the things we're good at, more of the things we love, more of the things that in the business our skill set is best set for. So that way our time and effort and energy goes towards the best of what we're capable to do. So in business, out of everything I can control, and this is like for leaders, even if you're like a mid-level leader, anybody who is just in charge of others, so can you delegate some of the work? Can you delegate some of the control? That's one way to calm some of the craziness of stress. That's one way to make your business more successful. That's one way to have more control over what you now have remaining on you. So if you delegate some things, you no longer have to have control over those. And it gives you a sense of greater control over what you do have to do. Make sense? The other word is defer. That's another one of the D's. Can we defer something till later? We might feel the pressure of it now, but if it's something where, like for example, in the personal training world, a lot of your income is going to come in January and February. It kind of makes sense. It's New Year's resolutioners. Everybody's trying to get in shape for the summer. So it's kind of like January, February, March. The first quarter of the year is where you tend to have the biggest kind of financial growth. So if somebody is looking to say they want to be like, okay, I want to maximize that time frame. What are the best programs I can set up? What are the best sales? What are the best promotions? Yada, yada, yada. And maybe it's April of the year before. So actually, let's do it right now because it's May 6th when I'm recording this. So May 6th, as of right now, do I need to feel a sense of anxiety, feel a sense of stress, feel a sense of trying to control this spring or the beginning of the year of 2021? Probably not. So there may be some good ideas to think ahead, maybe some things I want to put some notes on, but I don't need to be creating programs and structures for things that are freaking 7 months away. In this business, that isn't a time frame that's necessary. So there might be other businesses, if somebody's doing like project planning, project management, they might be looking a year, 2, 3 years ahead, and maybe there is something today that they have to do to address for that future. But that's what we're looking for, is that term of like defer. Is there something that I feel stressed over today that doesn't really have to be done today? It doesn't even have to be done this week. It doesn't even have to be done this month. Maybe it's something that's a later in the date thing. So I don't have to be stressing about it today. I don't have to try to control it today. So we can even look for things that are small scale. So if somebody does laundry every day, but they're not a family of 8, they probably don't need to do laundry every day. So can I defer laundry to being done maybe every other day? Can I modify that in some way to where I don't have to do it today? I don't have to stress about it today. I don't have to control it today, because that will then give me more control over the things I do have to do today. Then the concept of delete, maybe there's things you're doing that you don't even need to do. So if I look at business, there are things that I've done in the past that made me feel busy. And when the business was growing, it was important to feel busy because it was important for my mindset. I had to feel like there was something I was doing to push the business along. So even if it actually wasn't that productive, even if it wasn't that necessary, it just felt good to be doing something. Well, I'm at a different place in business right now. I sure as hell don't need to be doing things that don't make money or don't grow the business or don't help somebody. So it has to have direct relation for me to have any interest in it at this point, because I have enough things to do that do have direct relationship. So I have emails I got to get back to, programs I got to write yet. I got a whole bunch of things. It's all good, by the way, so I'm not whining. This is actually a blessing to be busy in business. But there are things I have now to do that if there's something that's pushed on me or something I feel responsible for, but it doesn't have direct growth in the business, it doesn't have direct effect on someone's health and happiness, then I'm going to delete it. I don't need to be doing that thing. So there are different examples of this in our personal life, but there's a lot of things like, for example, people get into social media and they have trouble kind of controlling social media, so maybe they need to delete it for a time being. It's probably better to actually just learn how to manage it rather than just deleting it. However, that might be what they need. So if someone recently went through something that was really severe emotional trauma, maybe getting off social media would be a good way to kind of get rid of triggers, get rid of things that are kind of bringing back those negative emotions. So there are different things in regards to control that we can delete. Maybe we don't really need it. And if I delete something, if I control less of that thing, I now have more control to give to the things I do have to do. So again, the 4 Ds are delegate, defer, delete, and do. So once I've delegated, once I've deferred, once I've deleted, what's left is what I have to do. Then, if you notice, by that time, I should have less things to do. Therefore, I should have a sense of greater control over what I do have to do. So these 4 steps that help you have better control of your business, 3 of the 4 are related to controlling less things. So in business, you're going to try to control less. So that way, what's most important, you can control the most. Make sense? So in order to control more about your business, in order to grow, you must control less. Let's talk real quickly about anxiety. So there's a thing I read in an anxiety book that talked about the 3 A's. So AAA for anxiety control. And the first thing they said was acknowledge it. Stop running from it. Stop trying to cover it over. Stop trying to hide it. Stop trying to just waste so much emotion, and stop trying to waste so much energy, some mental health, emotional health. Stop putting so much of yourself into hiding it and running away from it. Whatever your anxiety is on, whatever you're having issues over, issues with, acknowledge it. You have to give it. You have to name it, you have to voice it, you have to recognize it, you have to acknowledge it, so then you can start to give your attention to it, not your attention to things around it or trying to hide it, but your attention to it, and you can finally make some change. So the first thing they recommended was to acknowledge what you're having anxiety over. The second thing they said was once you have acknowledged it, you now need to decide to address it or accept it. Address it is control what you can. So if you're having anxiety of not being prepared over a test, well, study. Make some plans to study. Make some plans to study with a friend. Take a study guide exam, take a practice exam, whatever you got to do. But address that. So address the fear, address the anxiety, address the issue, if you can. If you cannot, if you don't have control over an aspect, of something, then accept that you don't have control over it and stop trying to control it. Trying to control things that you can't control will only drive you nuts. That's what kind of like why we get anxiety from it. So if I want someone else in my life to do something because I think it's what's best for them, I can't control them. I can't get them to do it. I can annoy the shit out of them and just nag the hell out of them every day, do underlying little stabby reminders that they know what you're doing, and it's not going to actually move anything forward. Or you can just accept them for who they are, and you can say, hey, I've said my piece. They know how I feel. They now have their opinion, their choice. It's their life. They can do it or not. But I need to accept the fact that I can't control someone else. All I can control is what I do. And if I've made them aware of what I think will be a better option for them, then I have to stop there. I can't have anxiety over it, can't have stress over it, can't nag them every day, can't, do little, like we said, little jabby reminders like, oh, that would have been a good thing to do back then, blah, 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 blah. So comments like that, we have to, like we say, address it or accept it. So, in order to have better control over anxiety, part of that process involves controlling less by accepting what you can't control. Finally, let's look at happiness. So if I want to have happiness in my life, an overwhelmingly significant aspect of being happy is stop trying to control others. Stop trying to control your environment. Stop worrying about what others are doing or what others say, and just control your reaction to what's happening. Control you in response to them. That is going to give you happiness in life. So ask yourself, is what they're doing really hurting me right now? Is it ruining my life? So let's look in the gym world, because I'm sitting here in my gym right now, is if you have somebody in the gym and maybe they're, kind of a talker and they're just kind of yapping, but you have headphones in and they're not on a piece of equipment that you really want to use yet. They're just yapping and it's bothering you. Why? Are you going to go over there and tell them to stop talking? Why? Do they have to be unhappy for you to be happy? Maybe it's a good conversation. Maybe it's a conversation they want to have to get something off their mind so they can have better control over anxiety. Maybe it's something they're frustrated with and they have a lot of anger issues. And them getting to voice it is going to help their emotional health. Maybe what they're talking about is good for them. So if it doesn't negatively impact you, why do you need them to stop? Why do they have to not have the benefit for you to be happy? Okay? So another thing is like the music in the gyms. So we have an open radio policy in our gym. The only rule is you have to ask everybody in the room before you change anything. If somebody says they don't want you to change it, then you can't change it. First come, first serve. So if somebody's already there, you can't just walk in, change the radio without talking to anybody. We actually have people do this, and oh my God, does it blow my mind. I have no clue why somebody would think that they can just show up to a room that people are already in and change the music, which changes the entire vibe of the room. Makes no sense in my mind. I have no clue what in their brain thinks that's a good idea. But it happens, which is why we had to make the rule. But if there's music that I don't like, I can put headphones in. Even if I don't have headphones, does the music really affect my strength? No. Does it affect my work ethic? No. Does it really affect anything within me? No. So learning that it doesn't hurt me if someone else is talking. It doesn't hurt me if there's music playing that I don't really like. The more I can control what's within me and my response to the things around me, rather than trying to control the things around me, the happier I'm going to be. So this is extremely, extremely true. So in life, the more we learn to let go, the more control we actually gain. Because we now know how to control ourselves, which is the only thing we truly can control over time and with effort and with education, with persistence, with mindfulness to work on controlling our own emotions, our own reactions to things. So it doesn't happen automatically, but I do have the ability to control myself. And I have some influence over my own behaviors, my own thoughts, my own actions. So that's where I should focus my attention. That's what I should try to control. It's something I can control. So this is true in business. It's true in anxiety control. It's true in building happiness in your life. It's true in so many areas of life. That if you let go of the things that don't matter, if you learn to control less, you will actually have more control over what's left. Okay? So I'd like you to kind of think of this and maybe try it today. Maybe try it the next couple days. If you're irritated at somebody, does what they do or what they did really matter? So the other day, I was coming up to a stoplight, and it was turning yellow, and I wanted to make a left-hand turn. So of course, as it was turning yellow, I kind of creeped my way into the intersection, hoping that I could make the left before it turned red. Well, I saw a car coming the opposing lane, and it was coming really fast. So he was trying to beat the red light. Well, the light visibly turned red. He then came flying through, probably twice what the speed limit was, and then I tried to take my left-hand turn. So I got angry because I saw the guy come flying, and I'm like, yeah, he's going to kill somebody. So I threw my hand up as if like, what are you doing? I promise I didn't ask him what he was doing with a single finger. But I was like a disgusted, like, what the hell, bro? And then I just like, oh well. And then I kept driving. So literally 1 second later, it was no longer in my brain. But I've been with friends, and I know tons of people who an hour later, they'd still be bitching and whining about how that person was so irresponsible, blah, 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 blah. And usually how karma works is as they're bitching and whining, they accidentally drive through a red light themselves. So life will come in full circle and it has a pretty good sense of humor on us. But learning to recognize that, that person ran a red light, and thankfully nothing happened. I didn't get in a wreck. Nobody got hurt from it. So why would I let it continue to hurt the rest of my day emotionally? I wouldn't. I shouldn't, right? I can't control what had happened. It already happened. There's nothing. What am I going to do? Turn around, drive, chase the person down and say, hey, you ran through that red light. That was kind of mean of you. And they go, oh, darn, I'm sorry. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Nothing changed. So why would I give away my happiness to a moment like that? Whenever I say, oh well, and I can move on and be happy the very next second. So this is what we're looking to do in life, what brings me unhappiness? What brings me anxiety? What brings me depression? What negatively impacts my life? If it's coming from trying to control things, you must let that stuff go. You must try to control less in order to then have more control over your happiness, more control over anxiety, depression, more control over business, more control over relationships, meaning that the relationships are going better. The less you try to control, the more control you'll actually have. Okay? So there's a quote I like that says, don't try to calm the storm around you. Instead, work to calm the storm within you. And that's very important. Okay? So, just some food for thought, things to think through. If you need any help in this, or if you like the idea but you're not sure how to apply it, you can always email us at brutalirongym@gmail.com, and we'll always be happy to kind of hear your thoughts and talk you through it. There's always a chance for, myself to learn as well. So please email us anytime you want. But this is just something I thought might help if people kind of think through this. That if they feel like, I'd be happy if it weren't for this, or I'd be happy if it weren't for that person. Be happy anyhow. You can't control that person. You can't control whatever quote-unquote this probably is. So just try to control less things, and you'll be amazed how much happier you'll be. It's not a situation of ignorance is bliss. You're not being stupid by ignoring things, okay? And I'm not necessarily saying ignore them. I'm saying, be aware of them, but just don't try to control them. So it's not that you have to be less of an IQ to be happy. It's not that you have to be ignorant to be happy. You just have to be aware that the only thing that you can control is you. And that will make you happy. Okay? Cool. Well, like I said at the beginning, thank you to the patrons of the podcast. Thank you to those who share the podcast. Thank you to those who listen and those who subscribe and become followers and stuff. I really appreciate everybody participating, and I do hope that there's benefit to these podcasts, and even podcasts like this, a little more like cerebral type stuff, like getting away from training and nutrition. But the happier we are in life, we tend to then be able to give better efforts towards our nutrition and training. If we're angry, if we're frustrated, if we have high anxiety, high depression, that's just going to wear us out. We're going to be emotionally tired, emotionally stressed, mentally tired, mentally stressed, and we won't feel like training. We won't feel like trying to eat well, because often people use nutrition as a way of coping with stress. So the more we can lower our stress, the better nutrition we can typically follow. Okay? So it all does come full circle. You're going to have an overall way better life. Try to control less things. Try to just be happy with what you have and within your own ears. Okay? Okay? If you need anything, please reach out to us. Always reach out to us if you need anything. Our email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. Okay, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. So the podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.